Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are in the United States today. But either way, welcome and thank you for joining us today for our third session of the day, Online Therapy Strategies for OT. A big thank you to eLuma Online Therapy for working with Illinois Digital Educators Alliance on putting together these sessions that we're offering today. As a ISTE affiliate, Illinois Digital Educators Alliance has been hosting virtual office hours for educators throughout the state during this e-learning extended time. And we had a special visitor, a special education teacher who attended one of our sessions who was really sharing, the frustration and lack of resources available for special education teachers. So through Dr. Kevin Rubenstein, a director of special education in Illinois, we were put in touch with eLuma, and within a week, eLuma had brought their staff together to provide these sessions that we're offering today. So a huge thank you of appreciation to the team at eLuma for putting this together. So today we are excited to talk about OT, and I'd like to introduce Justine Jones, who will be our presenter for this session. Justine has been an occupational therapist for eLuma for the past 5 years. She's been an OT for 12 years with work in virtual schools K-12, inpatient, outpatient pediatrics, and early intervention for 8 of those years. She enjoys learning and adapting strategies to help students in the virtual setting with building their skills in the following areas: handwriting, cutting, keyboarding, visual motor coordination, gross motor coordination, self-regulation, and sensory strategies for attention, self-care, and collaboration as part of the team with their teachers and families. Justine enjoys being outdoors with her dog, playing backyard sports, listening to music, and spending time with family and friends. Justine, thank you so much for taking the time today to present and share your expertise with our attendees today, and I'll turn it over to you.
Hello, and thank you so much. This is a wonderful opportunity, and I'm so happy to be part of it. Hello to everybody. Welcome to Online Strategies for OT. I'm very happy to get to share some of my insights and maybe just some starting beginner tips as we transition from maybe an in-school setting to a virtual setting. Today we're going to talk about online setup and instructions, some materials and activities that are pretty good for online sessions. Again, it's kind of a starting point, hopefully to get your thoughts going, and you can definitely come up with your own. And then parent education, how to demonstrate, and some resources for them as well. So of course, the first thing when it comes to setting up a virtual OT session is communication. Communication is so vital. Being able to contact your families via the phone and the email first is where I always start. A lot of times email is the easiest, and you definitely need that to send usually there's a link to log into your session. But once you've made that initial contact with your family, you can ask them what their preference is. Do they prefer you continue a phone call, prefer continuing an email, or even sometimes texting is their preference. So again, once you kind of lay the groundwork and have that initial contact, they can let you know what their preference is. Setting up a set routine, certain day and time. It's going to be every week or every other week, or even sometimes only once a month, but keeping it the same is really important. Again, especially helping that family build this routine when everything is out of routine is really helpful for them to keep track and helpful for the students to know what to expect also. Also, during that first contact with families, it's really good to discuss the materials that they have. You almost want to treat it as if it were home health or like an early intervention situation where the materials that are available to you are what is available within their home. And that can be kind of a difficult transition when you're used to having your own setup and what you have, and now we're relying on what the students have. Also discussing their student needs and the parent concerns, and a brief history. Sometimes you may have already worked with these students, so you know them, but maybe you haven't seen them for a few weeks because of this transition in isolation. So just again, double checking of what's been going on at home, what things are working, what things are being really difficult, how can you support them? Just getting a feel for where everybody's at when you first start your virtual sessions. Because again, that transition from being in a school setting to being in a school set to being at home setting is difficult for some, definitely. Next, we're going to talk about kind of your work area setup. It's really important for you, the therapist, to be prepared in your work area, and also for you to be able to explain and help your students and your families have a good setup for their home OT as well. So really important for the therapist is a quiet space. Your lighting is really important. You want the students to be able to see your face and your facial expressions. If it's too dark, that's going to be lost to them. Or if there's a bad internet connection, again, that can be kind of blurry. So you want to make the lighting work for you. And have your camera or your desk set up and with the least distracting environment or background. Again, because again, kids are excited to see where you live, and you're at home. Show me this, show me that, show me your dog. Take me on a tour. So you want to make sure that their mind can be distracting, but your background is not distracting. And then I always keep my computer connected to the Ether cord. I never rely on Wi-Fi. It's not reliable. A lot of students do rely on it though. So if their internet connections is a little bit worse, you want to make sure that yours is good. So same thing for family. They need preferably a student to be set up at a desk, especially because handwriting and drawing happen a lot during OT sessions. So you want them to be able to sit up tall and have a place to work. I know some students who log in on like an iPad or a lot of times sitting on the couch. But again, just encouraging them, okay, let's sit at the coffee table now for the writing part. Or, and it might take a couple of sessions too to figure out what the best setup is. But I always at least give them a rundown of my preferences, and then we can make it work. Always have the students have their materials nearby. I tend to email a material list before the session if I know the kiddo. If I don't, then I usually wait till the first session. Then after that one, then I'll email a material list once I get to know kind of where we're at and what we need to be working on. And then making sure that your learning coach is present and assisting as needed. That could be a parent, that could be an older sibling, it could be a grandparent. For this purposes, I usually just say learning coach or parent, but that means whomever is helping the student. And then again, discussing distractions. There are siblings, there are pets, there's a lot going on sometimes, especially because everybody's home and no one is used to this. And it doesn't have to be a hard and fast, hey, get out of the room right now. But it can definitely be a, hey, I've noticed so-and-so's sibling is very distracting. Could we maybe set them up in a separate room just for this half hour or 20 minutes of this session? Parents are pretty reasonable usually. And you sometimes don't realize something's going to be distracting until you actually get started, and it is distracting. Camera setup is also really important, especially for OT. There's different camera angles you'll need to set for each different type of activity that you'll do. And that's where your learning coach comes again and very handy. If you can prompt them where you need it to be, sometimes they have a much easier time than the kiddo. So for example, camera angles. When a student is writing, we're going to say writing on the desk, you would need the camera to be really low down on their paper so you can actually see their hand. How is their hand holding that pencil? How are they set up on the lines? Now, sometimes it's hard to see the actual paper and what they're actually writing. And sometimes it's even upside down, depending on if they're working beside the computer or in front of the computer. But having the camera angled down so that you can see while they work. And then once they finish their work, have them put the camera back up to their face and then hold their paper up in front of them. So then you can see what they've written, not backwards, not upside down, completely correctly. And then you can kind of prompt them through, okay, well, now we're going to fix this or what we need to work on from there. So that's kind of the first camera angle, down really low to see a paper. The second one is kind of mid-level. So it's not, sometimes, ideally you could get their face in at all times. But sometimes depending on how the kiddo is set up or how tall they are, if they're doing something like cutting with scissors, they might need the camera angle down more chest level, or even kind of between that desk and chest level, sometimes between chest and head level. It depends on the kiddo, but you want to kind of encourage them to stay right there in the middle for this one, so that you can see how they're holding their scissors. Are they staying on the line? You can help prompt a learning coach with kind of hand placement on the scissors, hand placement when they're manipulating their paper. You want to be able to really see, especially on an activity like that where scissors are involved. It's maybe not always the safest without that visual and without that learning coach right there present. And then just another example of a different camera angle would be if you were getting up to do a gross motor activity. Again, kind of take some, up, down, up a little, down a little, no to the right, and just giving those prompts so that you can see the student. Because it's one of those things where in the virtual setting, you are really limited to what the camera is showing you. If you were seeing them in person, you'd be able to see their whole body and read their body language and see everything that's going on. In the virtual setting, it's literally what the camera is looking at. So if it's only their face, that's all you can see. So you just really want to be mindful of giving those prompts and also be comfortable slowing down a little bit. A lot of times you give a student an instruction and they're off, they're doing it. And again, in the virtual setting, you can't always see them doing it. So it's okay, I need you to wait 1 minute. I need you to move the camera so I can see. I'll tell you when I can see, and then we'll start. And again, having that learning coach present there is really helpful, especially for the first few sessions when everybody is getting the hang of it. So some activities for home. Some families have a lot of materials and resources, and then a few others may be more limited. And I usually start with a material list of common household items that if you don't have it, you might have something similar to it. So for example, maybe like tweezers for picking up. It could be cotton balls even, or Lego, whatever kind of small manipulatives they have to pick up with their tweezers. Using chip clips, using any kind of paper and any kind of writing utensil. This is a good one because sometimes there's a couple different instances. Sometimes kiddos tell you they have no paper. It doesn't exist in their house. And other times there really just isn't a lot of paper in their house because we live in an electronic world these days. So there isn't always a ton of like lined paper or blank paper, like printer paper. So I've had students use the back of envelopes, go to the recycle bin, see what's in there, Post-it notes, anything will do for our purposes of practicing. We are just practicing. And if we can make it fun while we're practicing, go grab an envelope. But a lot of times the envelope thing was a last resort when a kid told me he had no paper in the whole house. And then also making a list for the parents is a really great way to spark ideas. So you're just kind of giving them a broad, this is kind of what I'm thinking. What are you thinking? Do you have anything similar? Do you have something that your kid loves that I'm not aware of? So just trying to spark their imagination too, which is really kind of fun aspect of virtual therapy is you can spark everybody's imagination. You can there's no wrong way to do it. And then another example of just that one thing leading to another is some kids do have putty at home. A lot of kids don't. Some kids might have Play-Doh or modeling clay, and you can use those just as easy to make letters or hide objects in, or just work on rolling and pinching to improve their coordination and their strength. So online versus hands-on activities. It's a kind of a good idea to have planned for both, just because in our technological world, you never know when technology is going to fail you. So it's always really good to have actual hands-on manipulatives, things they can touch, ready. And a lot of times the hands-on stuff is really more beneficial for younger kiddos, whereas the older kiddos, they jump online, they do everything you tell them to do, and they're done. But definitely just to have a backup. So the hands-on activities, for example, are things like handwriting, the fine motor coordination that has the manipulatives, cutting with scissors, and doing those gross motor whole body movements. And then I always recommend to parents that they have an OT box. And before an OT session, they go around and collect just some fine motor things to put in a shoebox or plastic box or anything really, so that it's ready. So you don't have to say, hey, do you have coins? And they say, oh yeah, I gotta go get them. So then you wait 5 minutes and then you say, okay, great job. Now, do you have your beads to string? Oh no, my brother took them. They're in the other room. I'll be right back. So it's kind of nice to have everything in a box all set up and ready. And then some online ideas, of course, are typing. Visual motor games are a big one. They're pretty popular with kids. They love hidden pictures and puzzles and mazes. But always having that backup plan in case you had maybe planned with a parent to do a craft activity, and then that parent wasn't able to get those supplies, or they ran out. And you're like, oh, well, that's all I had planned. So it's always good, even if you talk to a parent and you have a plan, to have a backup plan. That also comes in handy when you're like grading activities where you plan something and it's way harder than you thought it was going to be. And then you're trying to backpedal or trying to, last minute, how do I make this easier? And we're virtual, so you can't just put your hands on it and fix it, you know? So just, again, kind of being aware of, okay, I have this planned. It might be too hard. It might be too easy. We might have to make it harder. So just kind of thinking about that. A lot of times I plan an activity for the whole day for all of my kids and then just grade it accordingly. But again, I've been doing this for a long time, so that's kind of second nature. But when you're first starting out, it can be daunting to think, oh no, what do I do now? And then there's also other unexpected things that can happen, like a kid's behavior. They could just not be having it that day. It's not working. Or it is so frustrating that you can see you're losing them. And again, you're not there. You have to be able to keep them at their desk, at their computer. So being ready for that is really important. And then there are also times where there's just low bandwidth and there's tech troubles and the websites aren't loading. So let's go back to a hands-on activity instead of just having all online stuff ready. So this is just an example materialist that I might suggest to a family, especially maybe ones that I've just started working with, maybe after the first session or two, after I get a feel for kind of what we need to focus on. Excuse me. But I usually plan my sessions, even in the virtual world, starting with gross motor task, doing some fine motor activities, whether that be writing or cutting or typing, or even using some manipulatives, whatever that fine motor need is, kind of doing that for the big chunk in the middle. And then I usually use the visual motor activities as kind of a fun ender, also as a motivator to you do your work, then we'll do the fun stuff. And kids, like I said, really enjoy doing things like puzzles and hidden pictures. It's easier, but it's hard. They don't know they're working. So I'm not going to read through this whole list, but it just kind of gives you an idea of maybe some household items that are around. And again, to maybe spark some ideas for other things that you may have laying around that you could suggest or that a parent might have. I try not to suggest buying anything, try to go with what they have. But again, if a parent says, hey, I'm going to go to the dollar store, what about this and this? Then absolutely, that's perfect. Again, it's not limited to anything. Their ideas are perfect. So again, back to kind of planning ahead for a session, having your worksheets and your websites pulled up before the session starts is really important. Again, just to save some time. You only have a small window of time with your kiddo or your student, and you want to make the most of it. So if you're pulling up your website and then, oh wait, it's not on that page, I have to go to here, here, and here. That takes time, or sometimes if it takes a while to load, that takes time. You just want it to kind of run as smoothly as possible. And also, some kiddos prefer, or families prefer, that you send them a print, like an email with things they can print. So if I ever send somebody a printed worksheet, I always make sure I have a copy either pulled up on my computer or printed out for myself so that I'm able to look at it, because I've had this happen before I started doing this, where the kiddo says, what does that say? And you're like, well, I don't know, where are you? Because you can see, but you can't see the fine print. You can see where their hand is at, but you can't read what they're having trouble with. Or even if sometimes pronouncing a word, they're having trouble reading it. And you're like, can't see it, don't know. So it's just a really good idea to help them if you need to prompt them as they work, to have it your own copy. Another cool thing about virtual is that you can share your screen. So sometimes I'll share, if I can't send a worksheet to a student to print out because they don't have a printer, maybe I'll pull it up on my screen and then I'll share it with them. And we'll use that like as the visual model. So if it's something, a writing prompt, or a good example I have is like a find the difference picture. So I'll pull that up, have them look at it, maybe circle the things that they found that is different between two pictures. And then again, I'm just going to use this as an example for grading. I might have, like, one student might write a sentence about the difference. There's maybe 10 differences, so we're going to write 10 sentences. The next student will do the same thing. We'll circle the differences, and then he might write one word. What's the word, the things that are different? And then another student, I might have just circle it. We're not really at the writing or typing stage yet. And then another student, I might have circle it and then type it, so that you can work on a lot of different things with one activity. And it's one thing you're pulling up on your screen and able to share, which is really cool. Another cool thing about sharing your screen is that you can watch the mouse move as your student works. So for example, with that visual motor task, are they starting right to left? Are they starting at the top? Are they jumping all over the place? Are they losing their place? Are they kind of clicking everywhere? What are they doing? You can really see how they're doing it and how they are approaching what they're doing, which helps you prompt them through it. And then another really cool thing about sharing your screen is that I have one student in particular who has a really hard time navigating between a website and getting back to his classroom. So instead of me giving him the link, having him click it, and then figure out how to share, and then get back to the website, and then do what he needs to do, and then figure out how to get back to me, I just share my screen and he does it right there. It saves a little bit of time, saves him some frustration. And he's an older student. It's just one of those things that he has trouble with. I've tried to walk him through it a couple times. He's like, nope, just share your screen with me. That's how I want to do it. Because again, that's not always the important thing. It is, but that's not maybe the focus that time. Okay. So just some parent education and resources. Each student that you work with may have a different need or level of assistance that they need from their learning coach. And that might take a few sessions to figure out. Some kiddos really benefit from having a parent right there with them. And other students might benefit from a parent being maybe across the room or even in the next room, but available for an activity that is harder. So let's say, for example, we're going to start with drawing, and the kiddo can do that. They can follow your prompts, draw, color, perfect. But now we're going to cut it out, and that is hard and maybe dangerous. So that's the point where you want to say, okay, mom or learning coach, you can come right on back. We need you for about 10 minutes. And they do that. They help you with the hands-on aspect. Anytime that you would be helping your student either with a tactile prompt or helping them move his paper, anything like that, your learning coach is your hands. So you need to use them as much as possible. But also giving the student room to try on their own. You know what I mean? So it's kind of playing it by ear and kind of figuring out what activities they need help with, what activities do they not need help with. And then some students, like I said earlier, especially your older kiddos, might be able to log in, do everything you ask them to do, when you ask them, and how you ask them, and then log out without the parent ever really needing to be hands-on. But a lot of times, and sometimes parents aren't home, but a lot of times parents are within the house if you really do need something. So it varies, and you just kind of need to figure out where you need. And like I said, that can take a couple of sessions. One of the great things about virtual therapy is that your parents are usually right there. Like I said, not right next to the student, at least in the next room. And at least you know that they're available if you need to talk, spend maybe the last 5 minutes talking to them. Say, hey, go get mom. I know she's there somewhere. I need to talk to her. And it's a really cool opportunity to be able to provide your rationale behind the activities that you're doing, and maybe to help them brainstorm other activities that they could be doing, or maybe that they already are doing and that supports the student's OT goals. So that's really cool to get to see kiddos and hear from family members in their environment to say, yeah, this is what we're doing. And maybe you wouldn't have known that because your kiddo wasn't able to tell you that they do practice that. So it's really kind of a good opportunity to use that time. And it's also really beneficial for parents to see their students during a session. Again, sometimes during the school day, they don't see them. If they have outpatient therapy, they don't always go back to the session. And this is their chance to really see what you're doing, why you're doing it, and maybe how you're doing it too. Because I've heard that a lot where I've tried that and it's not working. But maybe just seeing a different way or a different approach to something, especially with kiddos who maybe are a little more stubborn or don't really want to do it, non-preferred activities, it's really cool. I did just want to touch a little bit on parent collaboration when it comes to sensory strategies, because I know sensory strategies can be the most daunting or maybe you feel it's the hardest to do virtually because, again, you are not able to be there. You are only talking. But having these conversations with parents is invaluable. It really helps, I think, give the parents, the word just left me, but anyways, it gives them the power. It gives them, like, they know they can help their kid because you've had that great conversation. And there's things they can use, same thing around the house, that will help their children. They don't need special, expensive equipment. They have it. They can do it. So again, discussing what they've already tried, what do you have access to within the home, and then giving them those ideas of how and when to use their materials that they do have. Some examples of that might be like an exercise ball. Most moms have exercise balls these days, and that can be for the student to sit on. That could be for the student to lay on the ground and have a family member roll it over their legs. Jumping, you can do jumping jacks in the house. You can have some time outside to do some jumping. Heavy work is really easy to do when you're at home. You can use a bag, you can use a basket, you can use books or toys, or a sibling. If you put a sibling in a laundry basket and you push them across the floor. Again, it's endless, the possibilities. You could do so many things. One of the great benefits to being at home is being able to have a break anytime you need to, rather than maybe a set time, or being maybe a little bit more limited because you are in a school setting. So again, encouraging the parents to say, hit pause, or let them have their breaks when they need it, or you can kind of almost have a movement break while somebody is still talking, because it's not as distracting as it is in a classroom environment because they're just at home. A couple other things they're kind of more unique to home situations are things like eating a crunchy snack when you're having an attention lag. Sometimes that's not as possible at school. Changing the lighting of your house, whether it be the student maybe needs it a little bit darker, or if they need it to be a little bit brighter, you can adjust that for them. Also, scents are a big one. You could have a candle, you could have maybe a blanket that smells like home. It smells like you, it's yours. And that's not something you would take to school, but it's something you could use during your routine at home now that you have school at home. So just some things like that as ideas. But really, the main thing is that the sky is the limit. There are so many things. So I listed a few just online resources because I feel like that's where parents are looking the most right now, is for the online resources. Some are not maybe able to go outside as much. Some are maybe feeling like, okay, we've done all the inside the house things, now I need something else to do. So of course, using Pinterest is always a great resource, and Google searching for anything that you're wanting to work on. So as a therapist, I might look for visual motor or dysgraphia activities. Whereas I would tell a family, look for eye-hand coordination activities, or look for different cutting tasks you can do, or different crafts. So again, it's limitless. As much as effort as they want to put into it are things that they can find. It's available to them. Some websites that I use pretty often are ABC Mouse, DLTK Kids. That website actually has word searches, crosswords, jigsaw puzzles, crafts. I feel like tracing pages. It has tracer pages. And a lot of the themes are things like animals and the holidays. And they're free to print, or there's a lot of things you can do online with them, which is really cool. And then Highlight Kids is another one that has hidden pictures. That's what I use the most. But there's also things like jokes. So you can have your kiddo write down jokes or copy them. There's recipes. I think there's crafts on there also. So again, just to try to support the OT goals in their daily routine is basically what we're trying to do at this point, I feel like. Because everybody's a little bit overwhelmed maybe sometimes. So to give them the opportunity to do something fun that is also educational and will support their OT goals, I think parents really appreciate that kind of stuff. One of my favorite go-tos that's not like an online resource is Sidewalk Chalk. Go outside, draw some hopscotch, then we get some gross motor in there. You can draw with your kids, you can write with your kids. I think Sidewalk Chalk is really fun, and it's different. I think the more ways you can do the same things, practice the same things maybe in a different way or with a different media, helps with learning also. So I think that's a really cool thing. So yeah, that's pretty much everything. And I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody may have.
Justine, thank you so much. Great resources. And I love that you are saying, you know, even some of the simple things, like you just said, sidewalk chalk, you know, can make an impact. And I don't know if anybody else has been on Facebook or, you know, have friends that are showing, there's some amazing sidewalk art going on right now with some of my friends' kids. Yeah, it's pretty incredible stuff. So I love that.
That's awesome.
We did have Lynn ask a question about sharing your screen with students, and I'm sure that depending on the platform, this can be very different. And I know you guys use Zoom, but could you kind of maybe share a little bit more about sharing your screen with a student?
Absolutely. So we do use Zoom as a platform, and it may vary, but for the most part, you pull the website up or whatever activity you want done on your screen, and then you click the share screen button. And then you give control to your student, and it will list, give control to the student's name that's in your classroom. And then usually the student clicks one time, and then they're able to control your mouse, and you're able to see as they move their mouse. And then when you're finished with that, you just hit stop sharing, and it brings the classroom right back up. And so that's something you may have to play around with if you don't have Zoom. But
thank you, Justine. We also had Monique asking about group sessions. Do you do group sessions?
I honestly, not very often, no. Last year, I had 2 kiddos that were in school that were together. So it's a group of 2. That's the most I've ever done. But since at home, I've never had students log in individually from home for a group session. It's not something that I've really had to ever do. Is there a specific question about that, or just in general?
Yeah, I think it was just in general. And Monique, there are some other sessions that have talked about group sessions and breakout rooms. So if you go to our website and you check out our recordings, you'll probably find some that talks about that as well. Mary is asking, how do they circle your hidden pictures in that share screen?
Okay. So the hidden picture is, well, what I use as it was the Find the Difference, actually. So hidden picture is a website where you click, and that's all you have to do. For my hidden picture example where you're circling, you do all those steps that I mentioned for sharing your screen. And then after you give the student control, you also give them an annotate. And then that will allow them to, when they click and drag, it will leave a mark. And also students who are maybe a little older, after you've shared their screen, they actually can access the tools themselves. So there's like a text tool where you can click and type. There's the draw tool or annotate tool. So you don't even always have to give them your tools. They can get their own also.
Great, thank you. We have another question from Bliss asking, what do you do for scissor cutting if they don't have a printer?
That's a really good question. One of 2 things. I either ask the student to draw it themselves, or I ask a parent to draw it. And that could be, if it's something simple, have the students, again, give them a chance to practice maybe their shapes, if that's something else that they're working on, or if they need a more complicated shape for their cutting skills, then I'll ask a parent. Another really good one is I have kids trace their hand a lot and then cut out their handprint, because that's very challenging, and it gets a lot of bilateral coordination happening at the same time. And another one would be a coloring book. You could have the kids color it first and then cut it out, and that gives them a really complex shape, like a dinosaur or, you know, a sea animal or whatever coloring books they may have laying around.
Great suggestion. Win if they're doing some drawing as well before they cut.
Exactly.
Christina's asking, do you use any forms or consents before setting up online sessions?
Not necessarily that I know of. I'm sure we probably do. And it kind of comes through the school. I think it's part of the contract that everybody follows the HIPAA guidelines. And if it's an eval, you definitely have a consent for that. And that's again why I'm not really sure about group sessions, because I feel like that has to do with consent also. So that's kind of a not really sure. Probably go by your by who you work for to see. But there's nothing that as a clinician that I've had to set up with a parent. It's kind of all done through the school and our company.
And I can say, Christine, as well, that probably is some things, and again, depending on what state you live in, as well, I know Illinois has some new guidelines that are being put in place in regards to access for students to apps and online resources, et cetera. So I would certainly contact your administrator or IT department in regards to those specifics for your state and or your district. So those are all the current questions that are in the chat. I'm going to share some additional information here, but please, if you have other questions, we have a few minutes left that Justine could answer for you. In the meantime, real quickly, I am going to put in the chat window a link to our IDEA Illinois calendar. This is upcoming events, other webinars, other coaching sessions, et cetera, that we are currently offering. We're up to between 6 to 9 online sessions per week. So those are all free to access live and or recorded sessions. Feel free to do that. If you are an Illinois educator, we also are offering the professional development hours for you for these live sessions. I will be putting that in the chat window as well. It's a bit.ly link. So Illinois educators can fill out the Google form and receive the professional development hour that you need for today. If you are outside the state of Illinois, feel free to fill out that form as well. Your state might be reciprocal to accepting the online hours that we are giving through Illinois. So feel free to utilize that if you can. In the meantime, Justine, we do have a couple of more questions that have come through. When using websites, are you able to share via Zoom?
Yes, and the way I've described it is per Zoom is how I would do it. When you share, you hit share screen, and then you give them control, your student control. And that's how we're doing this presentation. I'm sharing my screen with you right now.
Great example. Yes, great example. So that's a good point. So yeah, so what you are seeing right now is Justine sharing her screen, and you're able to see that. And so what Justine's sharing is, you can also, within Zoom, give the option. If Justine wanted to share with me, she could quit screen sharing, and then I could share my screen to show her what I was working on. We have a question from Julia asking about the zones of regulation.
So that is, I'm not as familiar with that, but I've heard of it. And it's just kind of what strategy you are best familiar with that you can best explain to your families. It's really what you're comfortable with.
Rachel shared, I have several families who at this time are just requesting activities to work on at home and not direct video conferencing services. Do you have any suggestions on how to effectively share activities with parents? And how many activities would you suggest I provide per week?
That's a really good question. And again, I think it really depends on your families. Again, some of them are very overwhelmed and you don't want to give them a ton of things. But on the other hand, you want to make it beneficial. One thing that I've mentioned to families is when you're doing, like, maybe, for example, vocab or spelling words, practice writing it in this way, in the way that I would we would during OT. So you can either provide them paper that has, the grid or blocks or special lines. Say, practice it on this paper. So that way you're kind of killing two birds with one stone, getting some work done and getting some OT practice in. And then another thing would be to ask them to think about what they're already doing that supports your OT goals. Like a lot of kids live on farms and are already doing some heavy work or just some fine motor work or some motor planning, an organization. I mean, it really depends on their day. And then you have your more finite examples of, hey, do this typing website for 5 minutes a day or 15 minutes a day. So it really depends on the goals and what the family can handle.
I like that suggestion, just being that, a whole nother way to think about differentiation, is what is the student already doing based on their home environment, and how can you incorporate that into their OT?
Absolutely.
We have a question here, and Justine, I don't know if this is something that you can answer or not. It's asking about if you bill as direct one-to-one session or consultative, since you're not actually providing direct hands-on.
We do bill direct for an online session. If you can see them and you're talking to them and you're doing activities, we consider that direct. Consult services we consider more like speaking on the phone with families, collaboration with teachers. That's kind of more the consultative aspect of it.
All right, well, Justine, thank you again so much for your presentation today. I'm so excited. My notebook is getting full of incredible ideas for
awesome.
Sure, like mind blown here. Thank you. You did a phenomenal job. Congratulations.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Again, a big thank you to the eLuma staff for their time and support and offering these sessions today. And thank you all so much for attending today. We greatly appreciate it.